July really has not been a kind month to Activision Blizzard and Electronic Arts. 2019 as a whole has not been a good year for these gaming companies as their financial troubles become much more obvious, with hundreds of employees being fired, studios being shut down, microtransactions only increasing, and becoming more predatory in games like Black Ops 4. Governments worldwide are investigating these companies' monetization systems, executives are jumping ship left and right, and in the case of Activision, the next Call of Duty game after Modern Warfare seems to be in flames right now, with the developer Treyarch jumping in to try and save the day. Electronic Arts, on the other hand, is still trying to revive BioWare's Anthem, which continues to struggle to find a foot, and Bethesda, a privately held company, appears to be in need of money based on the greedy microtransactions recently introduced to Fallout 76. Like I said, 2019 has really been a rocky year for these gaming publishers. Employees and consumers have enjoyed the consequences of these companies' failures, but there's at least a few people that probably aren't sweating all that much, and that is the executives remaining at the top, including Activision Blizzard CEO Bobby Kotick and his $30 million annual salary and his $7 billion net worth. Arguably gaming's greediest executive who simply has no care or interest in being pro-consumer or even pro-employee. I sincerely doubt the guy cares much at all about gaming, which is likely why I imagine Blizzard will continue changing, embracing the horrible business models that are forced upon Activision developers like Treyarch. Today we are going to be discussing all the latest madness hitting Activision Blizzard, Electronic Arts, and Bethesda. These quote-unquote industry leaders, and yes I have that in quotes, get away with a lot of nonsense, and it really can't stay this way. In July, both EA and Activision Blizzard enjoyed billion-dollar losses in stock market value, and we're going to discuss some of the reasons why that has happened and what it means moving forward. But as usual, if you do enjoy this content and want to show your support for gaming news like this, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing for more, and turning notifications on so you do not miss out on any new content. Also, make sure to check out my Twitter account. I'm very active over there, giving my take on a lot of other things that I don't quite get into video form. Hideo Kojima recently attended San Diego Comic-Con, and he made some rather interesting comments about the Battle Royale trend. And while many have seen it as a shot at Fortnite, I really think it's more of a shot at the whole industry and how gaming publishers like Bethesda, EA, and Activision latch onto the popular money-making trends that creatively may not be what players want, but financially it's what they feel makes the most sense. YouTuber The Grumpy Gibbon captured the following footage which has Kojima's comments being translated.
So what I do is I want to bring something different for people to maybe difficult to chew and chow down so that it really leaves a mark when you digest my works. And then move forward in your life because you remember that feeling, and I want to give that kind of stimulation when I create my games.
独立して一番簡単にしてるのは無人島にオンラインで行って徐々に打ち上げすることができる。それが僕がやることで。
So when I first started my own production, the easiest way to make money was to create something online on an island that everyone goes and shoots each other, but I didn't want to make that.
What I find so fascinating about this footage is the passion that Kojima has for his games. As you likely saw in my most recent video, it's clear that there are creative companies still out there like CD Projekt Red not looking to suck your wallets dry, but to actually entertain you with something innovative and unique. But what Kojima specifically says about Battle Royale is of course something to laugh about, but I don't think he was joking. The EAs, Activisions, and Bethesdas all have jumped in on the Battle Royale trend because they view it as the path to easy success and money. Obviously that has not been the case always, as multiple Battle Royale games have vanished and others like Battlefield 5's Firestorm and Red Dead Online's 2 Battle Royale modes never gained really any interest or traction. But EA saw immediate success with Apex Legends, Activision got that with Black Ops 4's Blackout mode, and just last month Bethesda needed something to jumpstart interest for Fallout 76, and they got that with their Nuclear Winter mode. Outside of the Battle Royale craze, you have these same companies jumping in on the live service bandwagon because they're doing what financially makes the most money, rather than what creatively probably makes the most sense for players. And that's the problem that this gaming industry has right now. Publishers with amazing talented developers and franchises, and they're wasting what they have by chasing trends. Kojima sure does make some very unique and different experiences, but what I love and appreciate the most is that he's doing his own thing. His studio isn't looking to what's popular right now and making the most money. They're making Death Stranding, a game that I still don't quite understand what it is about, but it definitely has my interest because of Kojima. Now, I next want to pivot to each publisher and their latest problems. Activision has showed its true colors in 2019. Their unsustainable greed with the Call of Duty franchise has forced themselves down a very dark road. Black Ops 4 slowly has become a greedy abomination that seriously doesn't deserve anyone's time and or money. What Activision has been doing with that game is pathetic, but when revenue is low, they always go for the predatory monetization nonsense because they know it works. This is exactly why I have little faith in the upcoming Modern Warfare game being anything but anti-consumer trash a few months post-launch. A recent Kotaku report outlined what we all kind of already knew. The developers working on these Call of Duty games have absolutely zero control over anything monetization. Kotaku's Jason Schreier reported in the months following Black Ops 4's release, Call of Duty players grew frustrated with the gradual implementation of microtransactions and loot boxes, and some Treyarch developers said they felt that pain. In interviews, many said that they were just as frustrated with publisher Activision's never-ending quest for increased revenue, and they were frustrated with the lack of influence they had on it. One of the common complaints I heard from lower-level Treyarch staffers was that despite putting in night after night and weekend after weekend, they were rarely allowed to offer creative input on the game. You want to know why they aren't offered input? Because creatively, it gets in the way of making money, which is all these executives truly care about. Call of Duty yearly brings in billions in revenue, but it never is going to be enough. The bar always has to keep being raised, and at this point I wonder what else can they really do to keep this franchise growing. Now, to the Blizzard side of things, all is not well as the executive departures keep on coming. Recently it was announced yet another co-founder of the company was leaving. Frank Pierce announced, I believe it was 2 Fridays ago, that he was leaving effective immediately. As noted by Ars Technica, it appears that Pierce's decision to leave the company is not something that is sudden, but something that's been planned for a while, as Pierce last year stepped into an advisory role to help with the transition. Based on the timing, one does have to wonder if this decision to leave was around the same time Mike Morhaime made his announcement. Either way, as was reported last year by Kotaku, Activision has been having a growing influence over Blizzard, which for the longest time enjoyed autonomy. But that is no more, and with 2 of the 3 co-founders of Blizzard both departing late last year, it does have me even more concerned with what may become of Blizzard in the future, with potentially valuing monetization over quality. Something that isn't unbelievable when you consider what has happened on the Activision side of things in recent years with Call of Duty, and even with Bungie's Destiny. Bungie was not owned by Activision, but was simply partnered up with them for Destiny, and they notably had disagreements with the future of Destiny 2, with Activision wanting more monetization systems implemented to make up for the poor sales. Bungie at the very least had some control. They made a deal and ended their toxic partnership with Activision, something they celebrated, but unfortunately the other studios and developers under Activision Blizzard do not have that option as they are owned by the parent company. Activision Blizzard's stock market value in the last year has plummeted by around 40%, and I fear what's to come is an increase in predatory monetization across the board because time and time again the executives that remain have proven that they just don't value or care about their consumers or even employees. Hell, it was revealed a few weeks ago that Blizzard was hiring Hearthstone community managers, which is odd because just about 5 months ago they laid off the whole team. This obviously angered the hundreds of employees who were let go, who remain jobless. Quite pathetic, to be honest, that leadership didn't consider, rehiring the people that just held the positions. But I mean, maybe this shouldn't be surprising when most of these executives and leaders are constantly incompetent. But next we have is Bethesda, who we recently talked about in a separate dedicated video because Fallout 76 had one of its regular blunders, and that's actually what has happened again. Many players were upset to find out about the newest microtransactions, and no, I'm not talking about the utility items, but a $30 bundle which features numerous faction-specific items. What players have been criticizing is Bethesda adding content that arguably should be free and unlocked by playing the game, but also what's worse about this bundle is if there's one item you want, you are forced to buy the entire bundle because the items are not available separate, which you have to believe that this is oddly convenient for Bethesda. As they continue to find ways to suck the wallets of their most loyal fans dry, it's become obvious just how greedy they are willing to be. I've complained in the past, actually right around launch, about the absurd pricing of cosmetics in Fallout 76's Atomic Shop, and charging now half the price of a $60 AAA game for these items just comes off as pathetic. On the Fallout 76 subreddit, players have voiced their displeasure with Bethesda's latest monetization scheme. One of the top posts demanding Bethesda stop selling Atom Shop items only in bundles, let us buy items separately. There's more than money and greed, I mean forcing people to pay 2,800 atoms, that's just not acceptable when it's most times only 1 or 2 items one might want to buy. That's so far the most shady business deal I've ever come across. I mean 2,800, for that money I can buy season passes on other games or even full games. Just crazy. Another player admitted that they have fallen for Bethesda's greedy practices in the past, but now they are drawing the line. This crap is not fun, I just want to play the game for a reward, not just throw my wallet at you. And there are many more posts just like these ones, but there's additionally another issue that has emerged with the microtransaction store. Some of the newest Atomic Shop items that Bethesda has released are bugged, which has obviously upset many players who spent money on these items that they expected to, work. That seems to be a constant problem Bethesda has been facing lately, releasing updates or new content, which is broken. Outside of Bethesda Game Studios, the drama surrounding the publisher of Bethesda has been an even bigger mess. First, the Wolfenstein VR game Cyberpilot launched to very poor reviews, and the bigger release Wolfenstein Youngblood released to very not so good reviews as well. And again, a constant theme is emerging, and that is Bethesda pushing for microtransactions. Even with it being cosmetic only in Youngblood, some players have pointed out how the premium currency gold bars negatively affect the balance of the game. Also, like Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Odyssey recently, Bethesda made sure to kill fast the workaround of the game's microtransactions, because like with Ubisoft, this isn't about quality and integrity like they claim, it's about protecting the greedy, somewhat egregious microtransactions that are included to make money. That's the only reason why they're there, people. Now with Youngblood, it appears the original plans for the microtransactions may have been worse, like Bethesda walked back a statement from a developer on the game who said they had convenience microtransactions in place in which players could use gold bars on weapon upgrades to quote-unquote speed things up. When backlash emerged from these reported comments, Bethesda walked back this statement and said it was untrue and the game was just cosmetic only. I guess a lot of people took the billion-dollar corporation's word for it, but I personally don't believe the developer misspoke. Furthermore, Bethesda managed to anger many with bringing the first 3 Doom games to modern consoles and requiring users to log into a Bethesda account, which is odd considering these are offline games. Why did they do this? I have to wonder if they are preparing for the inevitable annoying subscription service like Ubisoft's Uplay. Now, Bethesda was very fast to respond and again walked it back and claimed it was just a mistake and it was supposed to be optional. They also responded to an apparent bug that emerged where the Xbox 360 releases for Doom and Doom 2 were inaccessible from the ready-to-install dashboard on the Xbox One. Some thought that Bethesda did this to encourage the recently released re-releases, but I just have to say it's quite surprising how often these billion-dollar corporations make quote-unquote mistakes that would only help them financially if there wasn't outrage or complaints made. Just a little odd if we're being honest here. The one good thing that did come from this mini debacle was the memes, with many mocking how Bethesda required users to log in on classic games by putting the message in many other non-Bethesda classic games. Many times in recent months I've raised concerns for the future of this publisher, and I'll have a more in-depth video in the future addressing these concerns, but there is a noticeable trend developing, which is the increase in monetization systems and the exploration of more live service games. It also certainly isn't reassuring seeing id Software's top guy quitting all of a sudden. That was actually something announced days ago, and while many may not see that as a big deal, it definitely has me concerned. After 24 years, Tim Willits, studio director, called it quits and is moving on. So yeah, the future of Bethesda as a publisher is really something that I'm not a fan of, based on the business decisions that they have been making. But to the developer side, Bethesda Game Studios outlined at QuakeCon in a roadmap some of the things coming soon to Fallout 76, and I mean it looks solid, but it's difficult to get excited when there still is so many technical issues and the monetization nonsense is not slowing down. Speaking of games that have technical problems, we next have is EA BioWare's Anthem, which I have to imagine sometime this week, or actually it looks like it's going to be sometime next week, they'll finally announce or release the Cataclysm. Recently there have been some pre-Cataclysm events going on in free play, and like with Bethesda's Fallout 76, the new content has resulted in some problems, including numerous crashes and some of the new events being bugged. For what it's worth, these events aren't really all that interesting anyway. It's pretty much you shooting some crystals that have emerged on the map while battling against the usual enemies. There's currently a storm cloud and Anthem signifying the cataclysm is near, but when I went to take a look, this is actually when my game hard crashed. But as I have said in the past, there is little to no interest remaining in Anthem. Almost nobody's streaming or playing the game, it looks like. And with BioWare going quiet, they really have to come out with a bang to get people to return or even buy the game to begin with, and I just don't know if that will happen. I'm sure the game's store will be revamped to encourage more microtransaction sales, and I'm certain there will be a lot of new content released, hopefully everything that was supposed to come a few months ago but was indefinitely delayed. And honestly, at this point, I think BioWare needs to have much more than even just that. Like, the loot system needs to be finally fixed, there needs to be more weapon variety, and even then, I just have to wonder if it's too little too late. Now, for EA, other than Anthem struggling, they have been facing criticism for weeks with Battlefield 5, with many players discouraged by the sheer amount of bugs and technical issues. EA DICE has been taking this issue on as of late, but on top of that, there have been complaints made with the lack of content compared to previous entries. Battlefield 5 really has been an interesting live service because it clearly needed more development time, and the Battle Royale mode Firestorm has mostly been a bust, with many players having trouble even finding enough players on a server to get a game started. The unfortunate reality is that many feel that Firestorm was just a waste of resources when it really should have been dedicated to other aspects of the experience that are currently months after launch still lacking. But for EA, none of this really is new. Their non-sports games have been struggling for a long time, which is why they rely heavily on their sports games like FIFA. But they did take a very big hit in the stock market recently when it was revealed that Konami had secured the exclusive rights to Italian Series A soccer team Juventus for PES 2020 from FIFA 2020. EA's share value dropped by 3.5%. What this really just shows is how important FIFA is to Electronic Arts' financial success. The Ultimate Team mode and copies sold for the annual release bring in a boatload of revenue, and anything that hurts that, it has a massive effect on the entire company. This is why EA has tried flipping the script, identifying loot boxes as surprise mechanics, because if the feature receives regulation, Electronic Arts, which relies on it for its Ultimate Team mode, will be damaged severely. Right now though, EA and many other gaming publishers continue taking advantage of old, outdated gambling laws to try and claim their predatory, greedy monetization schemes are ethical, when they really aren't. What they are harmful, and even with the dumb headlines like this, it's not truthful to the real picture. The United Kingdom has outdated gambling laws, and gaming companies are taking advantage of that. The United Kingdom Gambling Commission chief regulator said he had significant concerns, but based on their current law, it isn't gambling, although I have to imagine that may change down the road. All of this madness is what this gaming industry currently is, and with EA and Activision continuing to have a rough year, you better believe what's ahead is more greedy monetization schemes to make up for the losses in revenue. This is why I have little faith that Activision's big holiday release Call of Duty Modern Warfare will not be riddled in predatory monetization a few months after launch. If EA's Anthem ever has a comeback, surely it will come at the cost of more microtransactions being implemented. With Bethesda, they are a private company, so it's always been difficult to fully understand what is happening internally, but based on the actions in the last 12 months, clearly priorities have changed, and chasing the live service bandwagon, even if it damages quality, is something the executives in charge care about. All of the news that we have discussed today, and there's even more I wasn't able to really discuss without this being an hour-long video, but all of this is deeply concerning and happening more often. It makes me wonder how much worse it could or will get for consumers. Anyway, what is your opinion on the latest trouble facing some of gaming's biggest publishers? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below, but thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy this video or found any informative value, and make sure to follow my other social media accounts for updates on new videos. Links are always down in the description below. I'm most active on Twitter giving opinions on news that I do not always get into video form, so do make sure to follow me over there. Also check out my Discord for all sorts of discussion on games, and again, thank you for joining. Consider subscribing for more videos like this, and I'll see you later.